Dropping gems from Keisha Christian. She's on a mission, sharing information, knowledge for soul, body and mind. Dropping gems, KeishaGems.com. KeishaGems.com.
Welcome to Just Dropping Gemz, proud partner of Rude Rangers Entertainment. We can now be found on Roku and on the Rude Rangers app. Be sure to download the app on your iOS or Android devices. Hello and welcome to Just Dropping Gemz podcast. My name is Keisha Christian, your holistic lifestyle coach and host of Just Dropping Gemz. And I must say, we have a very special guest on today. Her name is Ann Allen. She's an advocate for real and honest recovery from grief and finding joy in living again. Her clients know exactly what to do to heal their pain and live their lives again. She uses very specific steps and optional Reiki support and ends the idea that grief is a taboo subject. In addition, she also adores animals and speed. Ann Allen, thank you so much for coming on today.
Hey, thanks for having me, Keisha. It's really thrilling to be here, dear.
Yes, and I have to say, what I found so interesting about Ann, everyone, is the fact that she really works with people when dealing with grief. Or I should say death, the dying. Although that might seem like a really depressing subject, but it's all a part of holistic health. As you probably know, everything's in a cycle. We have the circle of life, and we are born and then we must die, even if you see it in nature as well. So it's important too for us to not make it a taboo subject and to really talk about it, because death is part of life. So Ann is on today to talk about exactly what she does with her clients and her what she does in her daily practice. So Ann, what actually got you into this line of work?
Wow, yeah. I think everybody's journey to where they're meant to be is usually quite interesting. Mine was pretty actually boring, really.
I'm sure. It's not.
It was nothing really earth-shattering or, oh my God, that's amazing. No, I've been doing energy work probably most of my life and didn't realize it, and really didn't do too much with it. And then when I was working as an RN in Van Nuys, California, one of my colleagues said, "Hey, Ann, I think you'd make a great grief recovery specialist." And I had no idea what that was, what that meant. And so anyway, long story short, went away, did the training, and just like, oh my gosh, if I had have had this information when I first became a nurse, I could have done so much more good. I could have helped so many more people. And then it became a matter of, well, how can I really get out there and do what it is that I want to do to help people and to really be true and authentic to myself? Because as a Reiki practitioner yourself, you know that one of our tenets is be true to your own way in being. And I realized that I had to somehow use the energy work, the awareness, and put it together with grief recovery. And so I've come upon a way to do that really, really helps my people. But most importantly, I find that I am an advocate for people being able to express what they need to say, because a lot of us really don't have the platform or even the ability to speak up for ourselves and talk about ourselves and where we're at. And so the grief recovery really, really helps them to do that in a very personal and private way, but they get to express themselves in a way that they wouldn't normally be able to.
This is very true. So as a nurse, I don't know what type of nurse you were, or I should say if you worked in a nursing home or if you worked in a hospital, but I'm sure you probably dealt with death in some point.
Yeah, Yeah, I sure did. I had a varied career. I didn't specialize in any one thing, but some of my most rewarding moments were taking care of HIV patients. And I had one of my favorite patients die, and that was really the straw that broke the camel's back. And I pretty much within the week, I turned around and walked out of the hospital for over 10 years. I just, it's like, enough. I just don't want to do this anymore. And that was before I did the grief recovery training. So I could have used it on myself then. But yes, some of the most rewarding things have been to take care of people at end of life. And I've done a lot of home health, hospice nursing as well.
Nice. So, as a hospice nurse worker, what was that like, working with the family? Did you actually, well, was this before you actually started doing the grief recovery, or was it okay?
Yes, it was. Yes. And again, boy, I wish I had have had the tools so I knew what to say, what not to say, what to do, what not to do, how to support them in a way that most of us just flounder with. Death and dying doesn't frighten me specifically. I agree 100%. It's a circle. It's a natural evolution, revolution, whatever you want to call it. But it's being there and helping not only the person who is dying to keep them comfortable, but also to help support the family, because they're often behaving in a totally different way than they normally would, because there's very little that they can control. So it makes it extremely hard for everybody to show up and be comfortable in a confined space around a deathbed or within a home where somebody's dying.
Yes, this is so true. I mean, and people would look at this as being depressing, but in a way, it just reminds me of because as you're talking, death could also be a celebration, and I'm just being brought back to the first time, like when my uncle's wife passed away, mm-hmm. and I never seen anything like that. My mom's side of the family's from Trinidad, and went to Trinidad for her funeral. And they did 3 days where for 3 days it was like a celebration. People came with drums and they were singing, and they had guitar and drums. Yeah. I remember, and they were there singing and just like, and people came, people brought food, and it was like a big celebration. And that was the first time I experienced something like that. And I remember he lived out in the country, so it's a little different than, people who live in the city. Because I was there for my grandfather's funeral. That was a few years prior, but it was not like, I never seen that before. And it was just like, I felt good, because we're celebrating her life and not so much focusing on the death. So I think that people need to really look at that as well when a loved one passed.
Right. And then, of course, we get into the cultural considerations. What is expected of you when somebody is dying? What is expected of you when somebody has died? And there's so many beautiful, beautiful cultural ceremonies and celebrations of death throughout the world. In fact, I really would like to travel the world and create a docu-series about that, about how people really do deal with death and dying and grief and loss. I think it would be very very interesting to a lot of folks. But yeah, there's many, many different ways. Some people are never allowed to speak the name of their loved one from the moment they have died, and they're never allowed to think about them again. And then we have the other side of that coin, like you said, the beautiful celebration in Trinidad. So many different people are going to react in many different ways.
Yeah. Yeah, that's true too. So when you are dealing with your clients, I'm sure that's something that you do keep in consideration. What is their culture?
Yes, and the thing is that a lot of it is a lot of their thoughts, their feelings, and that do change when they're facing end of life, and a lot of people have changes in their belief, or their beliefs are challenged. So it's a very, very difficult time for so many people in so many ways.
Exactly. I know how it is, because I've lost many, many people over the years, especially as I get older, you know. So
Yeah.
I know that's really hard, but I tried to focus on what was great about this person, what made them have such an impact in my life. You know, those are the things that I focus on personally. This is how I deal with I deal with death. So
Mm-hmm.
so I know in your line of work, I know you also do workshops as well.
Yes, yes. Actually, I call them a pop-up healing sanctuary, and I go around to
Ooh, I like that. Can you say that again?
a pop-up healing sanctuary. And I go to different locations. I live in the Vancouver, Washington area, so Portland and Vancouver, we call that the metro area. So I go around different locations, and for a couple of hours, I create a really safe space where people can come who are grieving, but they're perhaps not ready to do the grief work, but they need a safe place where they can just be. They don't have to do anything. Nobody's expecting anything of them. Nobody's going to try and fix them or say anything that's going to upset them or anger them. And we sit around, and you get to tell your story if that's what you want to do. And we have something called the Circle of Love. And that is a little candlelight pedestal that I've created, and then I give everyone a heart. They can fill in the names of the loved ones that have passed, and we put those around, and they're encouraged to bring mementos and photos, and we place them all around the circle of love, and then that's blessed with Reiki, and we do a guided meditation. Sometimes people will get messages just depending on who's present and who's not, and then we talk about what they're really doing for themselves right now so that they are giving themselves the best possible care. And it's turning out to be quite a popular little thing for people.
Yeah, I could just imagine. It's also a way for them to heal.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, society puts a great deal of pressure on us, Keisha, to try and heal within a certain amount of time. It's just crazy. You know, we have to be over our grief. We have to be done with it all by a certain amount of time, because otherwise we really are becoming inconvenient to other people. And I'm sorry to be so blunt about it, but it's the truth. Death, loss, dying, grieving, it's all very inconvenient to us because it takes it out of our comfort zone, and most of us don't know what to say, how to say it, or what to do, and we just rely on things that we've seen in the past or heard in the past, and those things may not necessarily be the right things to say and do.
Yeah, this is true. I also see that you are doing a workshop with a naturopathic doctor.
Yes, that's coming up. It's going to be on the 25th of March, I think it is. We just set the date yesterday. And that's about helping people who are actually converting to a plant-based lifestyle. And I myself have just started my vegan journey about 8 months ago. And I literally went cold turkey. I mean, really cold turkey. And so anyway, I got talking to this lovely lady, Dr. Emily Walbers, and she's just amazing. And she's actually a registered dietitian as well. So we decided we're going to put together this workshop that helps people to go into a plant-based lifestyle in a very healthy and a much less challenging way than I did. But most importantly as well, to help them deal with the loss that brings up, because a lot of people don't realize when you change to a different lifestyle or a different way of living, you're possibly changing a great part of your life or changing a behavior or a pattern related to part of your life, and that creates a loss, and any loss that's significant to us, we grieve for.
That is, you know what? I never thought of that.
Yeah, I know.
No, I never made that connection, because I, like you too, when I became vegan, I went from eating meat today to the next day not eating meat.
Yep. That was me. Yep.
And I remember I got so sick. I was so sick because my body started to detox.
Yeah. And then you, oh my gosh, then there's just this emotional thing, because mine was for ethical reasons and for health reasons. But there's this whole connection of emotions that we have connected to our food. Food is a very, very strong based emotional reaction that we have to it, and so those kinds of thoughts come up very, very frequently for a lot of people. And people, oh, I'm just being silly. No, you're really not. What do you do when you're trying to eat out? What do you do when you're going on vacation? How do you deal with the fact that people are looking at you, rolling their eyes, saying, "Oh God, you're a vegan." kind of thing. Now you've been labeled as something else, so that creates a real challenge. So yeah, it's going to be wonderful. It's over 6 months period, so that we can really make a change, or help people make a change in their lives, and we're going to be guiding them and supporting them through that for a 6-month period. And they also have a chance to actually get their blood work done beforehand, and then afterwards, if they want to really dig deep and see how it's helping them. So yeah, exciting stuff.
Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
So when we think about grief, it's not just sort of losing someone. It could be it could be a variety of things. So you're helping people get over all types of grief, even the death of a relationship.
Oh my gosh, absolutely. And if you don't mind, I'd actually like to give a definition of grief and loss. Would that be okay, Keisha?
Yes, definitely.
Great. Okay. So there's many different wonderful explanations, but these are the two that I use for people because they seem to really make it easier for them to understand. So first of all, loss is considered the change in or end of a familiar behavior or pattern related to a person, place, or thing. So I'll say that again. It's kind of a long one, but it'll help you understand. It's the change in or end of a familiar behavior or pattern related to a person, place, or thing. So just have a think about that for a moment. If you change the way you do something in your life, if you change the way you react to something in your life, if you change where you are, if you move, if something has happened in your life and it changes something that's familiar, and that's really important to us, we will grieve. And there's over 42 different kinds of losses that we're talking about here. So for example, we know that death and dying are obviously some significant losses, but what do you think now, hearing that definition, what else can you think of, Keisha, that you could define as a loss?
Well, like I said, the death of a relationship. So that could be a business relationship. It could be marriage. It could be a really close friend, a best friend. So it could, there are many. Even thinking about, well, I talked about spousal relationship, but also like relationship between a mother or daughter.
Yes.
Father, son.
Yeah. Now, what about retirement? What about
yes.
What about graduation? What about getting married?
Yes, yeah.
What about having a baby? Yeah, people they don't realize that grief can just stick its little fingers in all those nooks and crannies in our lives and really get in there. Another workshop that I'm going to be doing here very soon too is with a local real estate broker, Andy Costello, and we are doing a workshop about selling your home and how to actually say goodbye, how to deal with moving. People underestimate that all the time. They do not know what it means to actually move and how to say goodbye to the place where they're at. So it's quite an illuminating thing when I tell people and give them this definition of loss. So like I said, any time we have a change of that familiar behavior pattern and that loss is significant, we will grieve for it. So the definition of grief that I like to use is it's the normal and natural emotional reaction to any loss that is significant to us. Yeah. And it's actually from a Latin word, and it means to weigh down or to make heavy. So that pretty much sums it up, doesn't it?
Yeah, it sure does.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I
So
never used to, oh, go ahead. I'm sorry.
I was just going to, sorry, I didn't mean to. So many of us just don't realize, too, that it's not only the things that we wish we had said or didn't say, but it's also the things we wish we had done or hadn't done. And it's all about hopes, dreams, expectations, and the things that we wanted that were different, better, or more. And what happens, we build up those communications around, we don't get a chance to say them or do them. So that's where our grief really comes from, and it can really hold us captive and keep us stuck.
Yeah. So I'm even thinking about, because I moved to where I am now about this year will be 4 years ago. And I'm just thinking about when I was moving, me letting go of certain items,
Mm-hmm.
and even saying, oh, I don't want this in my space, but still holding on to things. And then when I actually moved into my space, I ended up throwing it out anyway. So I think that is so important too.
Oh, yeah, you're absolutely right, and people don't want to let things in. See, you knew you didn't need it, but you weren't ready to let it go, and you didn't know how to say goodbye to it, and it had an attachment or a memory or something significant for you, and that's where we get weighed down. That's where we get bogged down, because we don't realize, like, oh my gosh, this really means something to me, but I don't need it, but I want it.
Exactly, because it brought back memories, and you know, going back to the time you remember an event, a certain thing that happened. But I had to tell myself, I have the memory, I don't need the object.
Right. And sometimes people just really aren't okay with getting rid of the object because they still need it around for whatever reason. So yeah, it can bring up a lot of conflicting emotions, and really that's what grief and loss does. It's just oh my gosh, it gets crazy.
Yeah, so even I like how you're able to partner with people that you wouldn't even think of. No one would think to partner with someone or think of, like, oh, to have a workshop with a real estate agent to talk about grief, you know.
Absolutely. And I love talking, and I love being on podcasts. I love spreading the word, because see, you just had a huge aha moment. It's like, wow, I never thought about that with grief. I'm actually going to be partnering up with a photojournalist. We're going to be talking about life's transitions, and I'm putting together my own personal presentation on that for various places around this area, because people don't realize, again, as we go through our lives, there's no way that we can come out the other end without having some kind of loss, and thereby a lot of grief around it.
Yeah. So I'm even thinking about if someone wants to switch careers, if they're no longer, because even like with you, when you switch careers, there is grief associated with that as well.
Oh my gosh, yes. Now, thankfully, I knew exactly what to do, and I was able to do it very soon after I left my job, because if I hadn't, oh my gosh, the things that I needed to say, the things I needed to express around that, they really would have kept me captive, and they would have prevented me from moving forward. They would have just kept me back and kept me stuck.
Yeah, so it's really good that you saw, even though at the time you didn't know that's what you'd be getting into, but you saw where you were heading.
Yeah. I had no idea where it was going to take me, and it's just opened up my eyes to so many possibilities and so many ways to help people. And just recently, actually today, it's starting today, I was really honored to be included in the Animal Communication Worldwide Tele-Summit. And it's all thing animals, and about helping the planet and everything. And a lot of people just don't understand about grieving for animals. They don't understand that animals grieve. So just being able to help animals who are a true passion of mine and raise that awareness, it's opened up some doors that I never knew was going to happen.
Yeah, people don't think about that. Animals do need to grieve, and I've actually seen that.
Yeah.
Where you have like a dog, and maybe their baby died, their puppy died, and you see how the mother grieves for the for
Yeah.
her lost, well, you could say her child.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I used to be a vet tech as well, and one of the vets told me one day, she said, "Oh, Anne, animals don't have emotions," and I just stood there.
No, they do.
I just stood and looked at her. I was like, "Are you serious? Have you ever looked at an animal? Have you ever seen an animal?" Of course they do. They have incredible emotions, but they see death and dying so differently than we do. And I don't claim to be an animal communicator, but they do talk to me and they do tell me things. And they just see things so differently. And it's really refreshing because I have learned so much from animals, listening to them, watching them. And that way I can help people and people can help animals. And it's just a wonderful, wonderful little circle.
Yeah, it sure is. So are there any other projects that you'll be working on?
Yes, actually, I'm also just putting finishing touches on an online workshop for better and lasting relationships after a loss. So many people, they just really don't know what to do to get back into a relationship again. And it can be any kind of loss, it can be any kind of relationship, but a lot of people struggle. They say, I don't know how to talk to my husband. I'm so scared. I keep pushing him away, and I'm scared that sooner or later he's just not going to be with me again. And people just really want to come back to the way that they were. So I put together this workshop, and we're going to dive in and be very clear about what relationships mean to people, to them specifically, and to their partners if they have one. And then look at it, all gloves off, face in the mirror, stark daylight, no hiding from it. What are you willing to do? Where are you willing to go with it? How far are you going to go with it? And then giving them strategies that they can actually work with to get back into their relationship again and have it really a really loving, lasting relationship.
This is great. Really changing lives with your work. I really love that.
Thank
Really
you.
do. So, outside of workshops, do you have like any courses you teach or anything you do online?
I work with my clients. I have my private clients, and I can work with them either individually or online. I can also do group work, but it seems that most of them come to me, they want to work privately. I don't do any workshops as far as teaching or anything yet, but that's certainly on the cards. I'm certainly open. I love any time anybody reaches out to me. Hey, Anne, have you ever thought about? Oh, wow, no, I haven't. Let's do that. So I am always open to any ideas. If anybody's out there thinking, hey, why don't you do this, Anne? Or can I talk to you about this? Please reach out, talk to me. I'm always open. I love it.
The reason why I always ask about classes and teaching, because I'm a teacher. I'm an educator, so this is my 20th year, and then, you just have such a calming spirit. So I could just imagine, if you're teaching a class and getting people to learn about the different stages of grieving and different types of grieving. Because we only think about physical death, but we don't think about the other types of grieving, like you mentioned earlier.
Right, and I am being led more and more into the spiritual side of it, the energy side of it. So it'll be very interesting to see where that goes. And I actually was an instructor myself. I used to teach home care aides how to take care of people in their own homes. So, like you, I come from that background, and I did enjoy it very much. So I think that's why I like putting together workshops and presentations for speaking gigs, etc. Because it's kind of in my wheelhouse, just like I'm sure it's in yours.
Exactly, it is. The last thing I wanted to touch on was the fact that you earlier you told me that you're a Reiki master. So how do you actually use Reiki in your line of work?
Oh, that's a great question. Well, it's in the beginning, it's like, well, I don't know what I should be doing here, but I know I should be doing it. So, okay, let's just let the universe show me what to do. How do you guys want to do it? So basically, what I've been told, what I've been shown, I just get them in the chair, and then I'm the conduit. Just as you know, I don't heal. We don't heal people. We allow them to find that space within where they find their balance and find what they need from within. So I give them 30 minutes after we do our session, and just offer them that space of love, peace, compassion, where they can truly be safe. And sometimes it's in the form of a guided meditation, sometimes it's hands-on, sometimes it's imagery. I mean, literally whatever is downloaded to me is what I give to my clients. And it's so wonderful to see them so relaxed, because you can only imagine we go pretty deep with our grief work, and to be able to offer them this soothing, relaxing session at the end, by the time they walk out the door, they're much calmer, they're ready to go out, do their homework, and come back again next week and do it all over again.
Yes. What I wanted to, because I jumped ahead I was thinking for my listeners who are listening now who might not be familiar with Reiki, because I just assume most people know what it is. So can you really define it and explain what Reiki is?
Okay, great. Well, if we look at it, break it down, Rei is universal and Ki is energy. So, a lot of people call it universal energy. And it was developed by a wonderful gentleman, Dr. Usui Mikao, and he was actually on a spiritual quest, and supposedly the symbols, the ideas of, and the tenets of Reiki were given to him in a spiritual revelation. He used it as a way of actually developing his own spirituality. And as a result, he found that there was some healing that seemed to be happening around the people that he was working with. And over a period of time, people have taken it and turned it into a healing modality, perhaps more so here in the Western world, as opposed to a way of spiritual development. And there are many different ways of people offering Reiki or delivering Reiki. There are many, many different teaching modalities of it, but basically it's energy healing. It's being connected to our universal source, whomever you might think that might be to you, and just really connecting back to that and finding our stillness within.
Yes, I loved it. I love your definition. Definitely. Even like with some people I tell you who are Christians, one thing I like to tell them is kind of like when you're laying hands on someone in prayer.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar to that, because healing comes through that as well.
Oh, yes. Yes. And, I think we have to be careful with the word healing, because a lot of people think, oh my gosh, you're a healer. Well, I call myself a healer not because I heal you, but because I allow you to heal yourself. I offer you a space where you can actually find your own balance. And there are so many things that are healing on this earth. I mean, color, light, sound, smile, a touch, a word, everything is created with vibrational energy. We have, subatomic quantum physics are proving this now beyond a shadow of a doubt. And everything vibrates at its own frequency. And we're just really allowing people to tap into the frequency that works for them.
Yeah, exactly. Well, I consider myself to be a vessel. That's simply it.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying I'm healing you, but I'm being used as a vessel through the universe to help heal.
Yeah. I kind of liken it to if we imagine that there's this great big power station, right? Big power grid. And in that, we've just got all of this wonderful universal energy, all of this immense power. And then how do we get electricity into our homes? Well, it comes from the power station through power lines, and then it goes into the wall, and then there's a socket, and then we plug a lamp or an appliance, and now it's got that energy. Now it's got the electricity, right? Mm-hmm. So you and I are just like that. We stick one hand into the power grid
and it uses the conduit.
Yeah, and we're that conduit. So just like sticking our hand into the wall socket. Please don't do that, people. That's not what I'm telling you to do.
Oh.
Metaphorically, that's what it's like. We're that power source.
Yes, and we're just tapping in and using what we've been blessed with, what we've been gifted with, to help heal others.
Absolutely.
Well, Anne, I have to tell you, it's been such a pleasure having you on Just Dropping Gems. This was a great conversation. And one of the things I like to ask my guests is to leave final lasting words. So do you have any final words you want to leave with the listener?
Yes, absolutely. So there's a couple, if I may. First of all, people don't know if they're grieving, which might sound really strange. So if I might tell them about how they can go and get an assessment for that, would that be okay?
Yeah, that's fine. Go ahead.
Great. Okay. So if they go to my website, which is healyourgrief-healyourlife.com, and then when you're on the very front page there, it'll have just a wee box down the bottom saying take the Get Your Life Back assessment. Just click on that. It'll get you signed up onto the email list, which will generate your assessment. It's a free assessment. Just walk through it. If you can check off more than 3 items on that list, you're probably grieving. So that's my gift to you.
Yeah.
And that's and if anybody needs any help at all, please just feel free. I love talking to people. I love people just reaching out and saying, I don't know what to do. I don't know where I'm at. So please give me a call, 360-721-3433. And the last thing I'd like to leave everybody with is please don't try and fix someone who's grieving. We try and fix them because we don't know what to say, we don't know what to do, and it becomes really messy and really inconvenient. So please don't try and fix them. Say what you feel. If it's sad and it sucks, tell them that. If you don't know what to say, tell them that. Don't try and fix people. It doesn't work. It just makes them feel like there's something wrong with them, and that further isolates them, and grievers are isolated enough.
Yes, so true. I thank you. And I have to tell you, Anne, all of your information will be in the show notes below. So if you're listening to this on YouTube, you'll find all her information in the description box. And if you're listening to this on other platforms, other podcast platforms, you could check the show notes. Her information will all be there as well.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much, Keisha. It's been a real pleasure speaking with you, dear.
Yes, nice talking to you as well. All right, everyone. Thank you so much for listening to Just Dropping Gems podcast. Peace, blessings, and holistic health. Love you. Bye. This episode is sponsored by Dropping Gems Publishing and Dropping Gems Academy. Be sure to visit our website, www.droppinggemsacademy.com. Subscribe to our YouTube channel at droppinggems.com. To become a sponsor or advertise on this show, you can contact us at KeishaChristian.com or email us at info@KeishaChristian.com. Holistic health and much abundance to you.